We are honored to host this forum here at Diné College Saley campus. I want to extend a special thank you to all the students and staff who have organized this event and to all the candidates for participating in the process. We would like to recognize our student panelists who represent institutions across the region. Please introduce yourselves.
Yat esh iti tachini yeneshe betatni leshe ashiyan bashishchin purichini tashishte deshchini tashinala she da ke lana ini. Hello everybody, my name is Ethan Tachini. I am from Mini Farms, Arizona. I'm coming from Arizona State University, Sandra Day O'Connor College of Law. I'm currently a master's student in legal studies with a concentration in federal Indian law.
Yate shik da noshliniki Tristan Lee Shia Ado Nishliniki Heshkleshni Nishligo no da Epashishi Sana Bishni Dashache do no da Etene Dashanale Ado Wiltziste Nasha. Hello everybody, I hope everybody's evening is going to Jean. I came all the way from Witzistan. If you don't know where that is, it's where the first council meeting was held of the Navajo Nation. Although I'm a Diné College dual credit student, and I'm here to represent the dual credit students.
Yat Shania Watson Yenishe, Maidash Gishni Nashlan, Tapaha, Bashishchi, Kiani Dashache, Na Kaidane, Dashanele, Begit Baho Zenede Nasha. Hello, my name is Shania Watson. I am coming from Navajo Technical University, also currently serving as Student Senate President. Also, my major field of study is cybersecurity. Thank you.
Yat Done Nishlinigi, Torij Ini Nishlan, To Hanabashichin, Tachini Dash Che, Do Maidash Gijni Dashnale. Yat everyone, my name is Ashley Chi, and I'm currently a student here at Diné College, majoring in biomedical science. I currently serve as the ASDC president and also as an ex officio member on the Board of Regents.
Cool. Thank you, Isaac.
Yat esh kedoshidne Ado na nishlinigi e toheglin nishle todichin ibashishin betani edishuche Ado betani edishanale diago hotsoden nasha Ado seli deshigan Akot out the net dots atGanishle. Hello everybody, my name is Bradley Redhouse. I just recently graduated from Navajo Preparatory School where I served as a student ad hoc board member as well as the former Mr. Etsahasin. I will be attending the University of Denver this fall and majoring in hospitality management.
Yat eshe kedosh dena she Naomi Blue House Unishe ki ani nishlet sit not Jenny bashishchi tabaha dashache kitlichitni dashanele akut ego dene hasanin nishle luk khayni tiel de nasha. Hello everyone, my name is Naomi Blue House. I'm from Ganado, Arizona. I'm currently attending Fort Lewis College. I'm a third-year majoring in health sciences with a concentration of medicine and a minor in business administration. I am the 25-26 American Indigenous Business Leaders President and the Native American Center Wellness and Research Assistant, as well as the Cat School of Business intern.
Thank you, panelists. You may have seen some of our student moderators at the entrance helping with seating and timekeeping. I would like to recognize them as well. We have Ariana James, Kinyaani, born for Toadlini, and is from Wheatfield, Arizona. She is a Diné College student pursuing an Associate of Arts in Business Administration and chairwoman and central agency representative of the Navajo Nation Youth Advisory Council. We also have Wesley Ateen Totsutni, born for Todachitni, and is from Lukachagay. He is a Diné College student pursuing an Associate of Arts in Education. And I believe over here we have our student moderators. We have Afreen Tsose, Nansheje Tutsini, born for Tutsini, and is from Chinle, Arizona. He is a Diné College student pursuing an Associate of Science in Health Occupation and interning with the Capital Projects Department. Kaylin Harvey is Mexican clan, born for Coyote Pass clan, and is from Saley. He is a Diné College student pursuing a Bachelor's of Arts in Administration, is interning with the Athletics Department. We have Ivan Chi Kabahan, born for Todekojen, and is from Pinyon. He is a Diné College student pursuing an Associates of Arts in Business Administration and interning in the Athletics Department. Chad Winsells, Water Edge clan, born for Bitterwater clan, and is from Rough Rock, Arizona. He is a Diné College student pursuing an Associates of Arts in Business Administration and interning with the Athletics Department. Finally, we have Daryl Russa, Clam Tree clan for Running Into Water clan, and is from Shiprock, New Mexico. She is a Diné College student pursuing a Bachelor's of Science in Biomedical Science, Bachelor's of Science in Biology, and is an interning with the Shiprock Students Affairs Department. Okay.
Now please join me in welcoming Dr. Deborah Jackson Dennison, President of Diné College, for a welcome address.
Yat-A, and welcome everyone. She'e Dr. Deborah Jackson Dennison Yanishya, Bilagana Nishle, Kiani Bashichin, Bilagana Dashache, Do Ashihi Dashanella. Good evening, distinguished guests, candidates for President of the Navajo Nation, representatives of the Navajo Nation Election Administration, members of the Board of Regents, faculty, staff, students, community members, and honored visitors. As president of Diné College, it is my distinct honor and privilege to welcome you to our student-sponsored, student-led Navajo Nation Presidential Election Forum. Tonight represents much more than an election event. It is an opportunity to celebrate civic engagement, encourage respectful dialogue, and reaffirm our collective responsibility to the future of the Navajo Nation. I want to especially recognize our students whose vision and leadership made this forum possible. Your willingness to organize, participate, and seek understanding reflects the very purpose of higher education. To ask thoughtful questions, engage respectfully with differing perspectives, and prepare to become informed leaders and citizens. Founded in 1968 as Navajo Community College, Diné College was established by the Navajo Nation as the first tribally controlled college in the United States. Since its founding, the college has remained committed to preparing leaders while preserving and advancing the Diné language, culture, philosophy, and sovereignty. Our mission is rooted in serving our people through education, leadership, and community engagement. As an institution of higher learning, our role this evening is not to endorse candidates or political viewpoints. Rather, it is to provide a respectful, educational environment where ideas may be shared openly, questions may be asked thoughtfully, and every participant is treated with dignity and respect. We hope this forum equips our students and communities with the knowledge necessary to participate thoughtfully in the democratic process. As we gather this evening, I encourage each of us to be guided by the teachings of recognizing our relationships with one another and treating every individual with respect, humility, and dignity. Even when perspectives differ, our shared responsibility to one another and to the future of our nation remains unchanged. The philosophy of Sahanae Begehajon provides a timeless model of leadership that continues to guide the work of Diné College. It teaches us the effective leadership begins with Nasahak Es, thinking with clarity, wisdom, and purpose. It continues through Nahat'ah, planning with vision and intentionality. It is demonstrated through Ina, living our plans through honorable action and service. It culminates in Sahasin, reflection, confidence, accountability, and the wisdom gained through experience. At Diné College, we have expanded this leadership framework by embracing two additional teachings that we believe are essential to transformative leadership. The first is Agla, representing commitment, perseverance, and the willingness to carry responsibilities forward, even when the work is difficult. The second is ayo'ene, which reminds us that genuine care, compassion, kindness, and love for one another must remain at the heart of every decision we make. We believe these two teachings complete the leadership journey because knowledge alone is not enough, planning alone is not enough, action alone is not enough, and reflection alone is not enough. Without unwavering commitment to our mission and authentic care for those we serve, especially our students, leadership cannot fully achieve Hojo. True leadership requires both the courage to remain committed and the compassion to place people before ourselves. As we listen to our candidates this evening, I encourage each of us to consider not only the ideas and the priorities they present, but also the character and values they demonstrate. Leadership is ultimately measured by integrity, humility, accountability, service, and a genuine commitment to improving the lives of the Diné people and strengthening the future of our nation. To our candidates, all of you here, thank you. Thank you for your willingness to answer questions, share your vision, and offer yourselves in service to the Navajo Nation. This kind of service that you want, public service, is among the highest calling, and we appreciate your participation in this important educational forum. To our students, thank you for reminding us that leadership begins before holding public office. It begins with curiosity, preparation, thoughtful dialogue, and a commitment to making a positive difference within our communities. Finally, thank you to every one of you that helped organize this evening's event, and to each of you for investing your time in learning, listening, and participating in the future of our nation. May this evening be one of meaningful conversation, respectful dialogue, thoughtful reflection, and renewed hope for the future of the Navajo Nation. Ayehet.
Thank you, President Dennison, for your Jackson Dennison, for your words and for hosting us. Candidates, before we begin the formal rounds, we would like to carefully review the ground rules. These are in place to ensure a fair, respectful, and productive forum for everyone involved. Number 1, time limits. For round 1 and round 2, candidates will have 2 minutes to respond. For round 3, the lightning round, candidates will have 1 minute. Closing remarks are also 1 minute. A timer will be visible and will start once you begin speaking, and I will enforce these limits strictly. Number 2, speaking order and questions. Our student panelists will pose questions. I will call on the specific candidates whose turn it is to respond. Based on this predetermined order, please do not speak until recognized by me. Each question may be repeated once upon request. No additional clarification or rephrasing will be provided, and time will continue to run during responses. Number 3, respectful discourse and microphone policy. We are all here to discuss ideas and the future of the Navajo Nation. Please direct your remarks to the questions and to the audience, not to your fellow candidates personally. Negative attacks or personal insults between candidates will not be tolerated here. If such behavior occurs, the microphones will be shut off immediately. We expect every candidate to conduct themselves with dignity and respect. Number 4, stage conduct. No campaign materials are allowed on stage. Technology use is prohibited when candidates are speaking, and you must remain in your designated positions for the duration of the forum. Ushers will be stationed on both sides of the stage to assist candidates as needed. If you require water or any other support during the forum, please signal to an usher and they will assist you promptly. They are sitting behind you. Audience members, please silence your devices at this time and refrain from using items that may cause disruption, like cowbells, air horns, or similar noise-making items. We ask that you remain quiet and respectful throughout the forum. Out of respect for all candidates, please, no cheering, no chanting, signs, or verbal reactions will be permitted during responses. Applause should be limited to brief clapping only at the conclusion of each candidate's statement. For your safety, please take note of the nearest exits. As I mentioned earlier, there is one north and south. Please identify the one closest to you. The seating arrangement for this evening's forums were randomly determined. Candidates will respond 2 at a time to each question in order from left to right, proceeding down the line, with additional candidates on standby. However, during the lightning round, each candidate will be asked one individual question and will respond independently. The questions being asked this evening come directly from students and reflect the issues, concerns, and interests that they have all identified as important. Thank you for helping us maintain a fair and respectful environment for everyone. We will now proceed with our first round. Welcome to round 1. Per the ground rules, there are no separate opening statements. In this round, candidates will briefly introduce themselves and answer the first question within a strict 2-minute time limit. Our first question comes from our student here, Ethan Tachitni. I will now call the first 2 candidates to respond. Candidate Arvin Trujillo and candidate Johnny Russell Jr. On standby are Alexander Chambers and Justin Jones. Ethan Tachini, please pose your first question.
Navajo students studying outside the reservation often encounter challenges such as housing insecurity, discrimination, mental health concerns, and navigating unfamiliar systems. What role should the Navajo Nation play in advocating for and supporting these students while they are away from home?
Thank you. Please respond, candidate Arvin Trujillo. You have 2 minutes to briefly introduce yourself and respond to the question.
Thank you very much for the question. I feel like I'm sitting here in a submarine. Thank you for that question. First of all, my name is Arvin Trujillo. I'm from Fruitland, New Mexico. I've been married for 43 years. I've got 3 grown children. And again, looking at the question, that's a very good question. As I look at my young leaders here in the next generation, you're looking at support. And what I'm focused on with that, I used to be the CEO for the American Indian Science and Engineering Society. Those are support organizations. There are other support organizations. If I'm your president and a part of that administration, my effort will be to begin to work with these outside organizations to begin to provide the necessary support that you need. I've been there. I've been in a school where I was 2 natives in a population of 18,000 students. I went to Penn State, 26 natives in 30,000 school attendance. So I know what that means. I know what you feel. And so getting organizations outside the reservation that can assist and getting some of our departments to work concurrently with them to provide the necessary support that you need to get an education, because that's the important part there. Getting you educated, providing you that necessary support you so you have a stable environment, so that you have the necessary counseling for finances, for health, for social support. Those are the things that are needed so that you can focus on your studies. You can focus on your education so that you gain that degree. And that's the ultimate result, is that you graduate and get your degree. Thank you.
Candidate Johnny Russell Jr., you now have the floor for 2 minutes to briefly introduce yourself and respond to the question.
Say Johnny Russell, scheduled now to the Dashta, a Kiha Koran Khania, Eastern Edisiha, Ata the Danister, Aron Junon Kalchin, the neck at Yedartia, Abayadati, Aron Head, Nikitaya Old Gate, Low Arabalakana, but I can't be Zararon, that state law, did the Nebazara, he says, I is a bit zealot, Badeo, ne, Arnold, Ehon, also Tony, Don Ganado, do Tijo, do Belgano, do Naslida. Sashiot and Slinda, con Arta Belgamba, Cody, Bayatke, the housing, Bayatke dojo, it was linked to Ultrai, Benejo, Benesh, dojo, a skin to a sort Binda Ultra. Adot id Arabich in Antrado, based on the Bahad Lord, Bayate, a co Adot id in Antraco and Kalchin, General, Nasta Ultrado, Haran Kadando Kata, Nitle Co Eben yet, Bengade, Tenko, Bezade, Gazade, Bede, or Neha Shoulder, a co aid, Abengajas, you don't lose your language. Binadish in the Yashin, Sessa Belagana, and Sessa Slachanaha, Talabush is there, and Artania, Belagana, Bizardo, Bahan Senator, no. Chindi Bizarre, they should know. A Kodishti at the Belgana Bizarre Bahansen. Ado Hiha, Ando Takuda, Nikhania, Ado NTCs in the house. Thank you. Next tribal chairman.
Yati Shik Shitkahosi Lonothini Shay Alexander Chambers ain't sha. Oh. Okay. I was fired up and ready to go. Check.
Sorry about that. We're not going to move on to the next candidate until the next question. So the next question will be posed by student panelist Tristan Lee. Please pose the next question.
Navajo Technical University and Diné College dual credit program lets high school students earn their high school credits as well as college credits. The program encourages taking dual credit courses as they can reduce the cost of higher education, shorten the time to earn a good degree, and provide opportunities for rural students to pursue their higher education. What actions would you and your administration take to expand dual credit and early college opportunities so that all students throughout Dineta can have access to college-level coursework?
Okay, so for question 2, I will now invite candidate Alexander Chambers and candidate Justin Jones to respond. On standby are Frank Dayas Jr. and Boo Nygren. You may now respond for the first candidate, Alexander Chambers.
Duly noted. Again, my name is Alexander Chambers. Tkatna Sanin Shlon, Tkaba Habashish Chin. Tkatna Sanin Shlon, Tkaba Habashish Chin. And Shichay Twitch dan Lino Shanalena Kaidina dan Lewat Aquadoi Nihidatos Zenoko. Le not ani nezen hania ya. Ako. And this is a very important, pivotal time in our government history. It's very important, okay. And to answer your question, dual programs, I believe that is very important. And it is currently being offered now from high school and all the way into college and stuff like that. So it is an active program, and I think it should be strengthened in a few ways that if you look at, we all been to high school. And so if you logically think about that question, back in the early times of even when I was in high school, back in the late 90s, early, 2000s, we didn't have the technology you all have today, which is artificial intelligence, which is more of a Wi-Fi access to what you guys have. So based on those, measures, I would believe that we could pursue some type of avenue to make that possible even better than what it is today. So I think technology, you guys have it better than we did, and that's an advantage you guys should take advantage of. Yeah.
The next candidate, Justin Jones. You have now the floor for 2 minutes.
But ahnidone en slentrat is sahne da shchedo shi da shnale sans hadis ahade in a shashik de neshel gas in lo yat edo he nada hil sakwege ado in the daisan hinash in the gido hollon edo shalchen et khalt kwede benaide kit. The question that has been posed as far as dual credit. Dual credit is going to have to entail agreements between NTU and Diné College and the surrounding state-funded public schools. Number two, it's going to have to take an agreement between the two institutions and Bureau-funded grant schools and contract schools that have high school programs. Number three, the same agreements have to be in place for Bureau-operated high schools. For example, Fort Wingate and Mini Farms High School. The agreement's going to have to entail between the two colleges, NTU and Diné College, to say that we are going to recognize dual credit both ways. Now that's not enough. We can easily do that here at the college levels. But the problem is going to be the funding to pay for the dual credits. The funding needs to be there. So it's going to have to be an agreement or an initiative by the Navajo Nation Government Scholarship Office and the President's Office as well. Because these are our institutions, ladies and gentlemen. These institutions, they belong to us. These are Navajo schools. So we need to begin to put our hands deeper into the Navajo Nation government and put it on the table here and pay for these programs. When these two schools came before the council, it shouldn't have even been a debate back in the winter session. It should be an automatic, but we still at that stage, but that's what it would entail. Thank you.
Thank you. We will now proceed with question 3 of round 1. Question 3, I will now invite candidate Frank Davis Jr. and candidate Boo Nygren on standby are Donovan Begay and Myron Lizer. The next student, Shania Watson, please pose the next question.
As a cybersecurity student, I understand that cyber attacks against government, schools, healthcare systems, and tribal organizations are becoming more frequent. In recent years, tribal government and enterprises across the United States have experienced ransomware attacks and data breaches that disrupt operations and expose sensitive information. If elected as Navajo Nation President, how would you enable a dedicated Navajo Nation Cybersecurity Office to protect government systems, citizen information, and critical infrastructure?
Candidate Frank Davis Jr., you have the floor for 2 minutes to briefly introduce yourself and respond to the question.
Yep, say ya Frank Davis Jr. inch but uninsla. Askat zoe ya da shje. Aro shin he se chenedat. But in snani but sikya this din over dino what it hold this. Ya e the question that you have, we have 32 BIA institutions, educational institutions here on the Navajo Nation. We have 28 tribal institutions. We have 5 dormitory facilities here on the nation. We have 638. So those 4 organizations are all covered by various regulations, protocol. And so what has to happen, and under my administration, there's a communications office right there in OPVP. So the assignment would be given to them to take the organizations that I talked about. Now for BIA, there's over 5,000 students. For the tribal, there's 4,000 students. So you put all those together, and you've got around a little over 9,000. So that's who we'll be working towards to achieve and to assure an objective that they would obtain their education. That would be our main goal. Now, when you talk about these different objectives, then we have Diné College. We have NTU, both of them, NTU, both of them get $6 million. We would go back and make sure that they get more. Now, the scholarship fund is around 9 million. We would go and increase that as well. So under my program, that's what we would focus on. Thank you.
Thank you. And our next candidate, Boo Nygren, you also have the floor for 2 minutes to briefly introduce yourself and answer the question.
Chubia yat gedini do let ano ten ho da no songi do de nebenan tan yedi chehiro beke dan leni do beke da khegi he do ai se ba se khojon khoren nan sta do khani zini tachi nin shle aro nat o ze basis chin do thode chi ni da se che do nat o ze da shnal gat khana khiron stan de ze do ba ho to shna ne shish o de nebenan ta etlini he do let ai se hui yo ba hin sin do ba han so hui jin na nishbake the sha arabati nash in again hobas na aj First Lady Jasmine Blackwater Niger ne ayese hashni lo shi yashin do no ta tachi ni da bache do but ane da banal e hoto na ani liro na hui ahido gadit ahin lo to man le chinyaj na kit hadit es kana shlap na kha to kana khab na kha e hoto ekege na kego hadit esebe a hado le arhon na hiso na ide kirge le patience case be I yese yegon kichihan ni try yese de never care about count jono ben dasil lesson le troze special chi that enigido yat ni oni that is doy hot on hinan shedel yand a hot end and le order da yego belkana na tsoze na kheda that enigi thon and yen dan kechigi het ola because deal neshdo het ola the never Washington ben benal so sto a lad be e da house enigi bich asen zero le enigi le sede ya yana da ai da hot o be shi hot a chance ne yego de ne da ni higiro yego yat e hobs at da house enigi chi de deal e no jon le patience case da khaida hajda do lito le had ne ne do khash e hot o dish an nin in no da e hot o hada de yago ben dasilnis o hot ende nire ba ha o zi lego Diné College do NTU dan jono peso bich hol yago in na hol a do e hot o bana ne shdeila na so sa de hinteo biga han sino ebe khadole.
Thank you. We will now proceed with question 4 of round 1. Question 4. I will now invite next candidates Donovan Begay and candidate Myron Leiser. On standby are Emily Ellis and Crystalline Curley. The next student we have to pose the question.
Climate change is placing increasing pressure on Navajo rangelands while overgrazing and off-road vehicle use continue to contribute to soil compaction, land degradation, and reduced forage availability for livestock. These challenges threaten long-term health of our land, livestock industry, and traditional way of life. As president, what specific actions would you take to strengthen, improve, and enforce Navajo Nation policies and laws to protect our rangelands, promote sustainable land management, and preserve natural resources for the future generations?
Candidate Donovan Begay, you now have the floor for 2 minutes to briefly introduce yourself and answer the question.
Yade, she Donovan Begay she built in slit three glini but chin nakadidenta the she. Towards the agitation, I got ego didn't just not lately then Shah. I also have a place in Victorville, California. I work for the Los Angeles Unified School District as an administrator for native language and cultural programs. So your question is about climate change, overgrazing. It's true. I have 160 acres of grazing property over in Hana Glede. We have a lot of oil companies coming in, but then the overgrazing has a lot to do with the land board. The land board's not enforcing a lot of the rules because they're basically in charge. So the way that you would fix this issue is to have a probably training, more training for the land boards to follow the policies and procedures of the Navajo Nation for overgrazing. So I believe a lot of windmills need to be implemented into a lot of the areas there too. So, Law. Oh, I'm good. Oh. Okay. Okay, thank you. Law.
Candidate Myron Lizer, you may now have the floor for 2 minutes to introduce yourself and
Yat Edo, Yeha, Shikedo, Shedinea, Shay Myron Lizer, Yenishia, former Vice President, Nishlan, Nethlania, Nishlan. I was coached to add, instead of Comanche, add Nethlania, so I'm still trying to work on that one. But I appreciate the question, and can I have more cowbell? Some of you will get that. I've already been working on this plan for updating our range management, and it's adopting and utilizing the latest technology. Solar pumps, repairing the older wells, bringing water from an existing well and taking drinkers out 2-3 miles from a high point water tank to troughs that are several miles away. And this has been perfected in Eastern Agency. And we brought water to 9 ranchers, and those ranchers don't have to haul water anymore. So in answering your question, Ashley, this technology adoption is the best thing for us to do, utilizing solar technology, utilizing the satellite feeds for internet that would be able to monitor real time the actual rain that we do receive, any precipitation, but also by virtue of that, we're able to keep the troughs, again, located across maybe a 5-mile stretch where the water is always going to be full. The cows, the sheep, all of the rangeland forage that's out abroad, the cattle won't have to travel so far, and so they keep to maintain their yield, their weight. And so when the owner, the ranchers, take the cattle to the market, their cattle are a lot heavier, and we're seeing this, and especially with beef prices nowadays, I can see revitalizing the Navajo beef program using the latest technology.
we will now proceed with question 5 of round 1. Question 5. I will now invite candidate Emily Ellison and candidate Crystalline Curley. The next student to pose the question is Bradley Redhouse. Bradley Redhouse, please pose the next question.
On December 29th, 2022, the Navajo Nation Council approved legislation 232-21 for helium development on the Navajo land, which former President Jonathan Nez vetoed on his last day in office. What is your stance on the extraction of natural resources on Navajo Nation and extraction impact?
My position, na kirinenchlia, hatsoi bashichin kia ani e dashiche betani e dashinale. I'm from Manuelito and Ajilka Jones Ranch. I oppose any sort of mining of uranium. And that law, there was a law imposed, and it was passed by Joe Shirley about 10 years ago. And that's one of our problems as Navajos. We don't listen to the rules. We don't obey our own rules. They've already said no, and yet we go and we do it again. There's no enforcement. So that goes back to making sure we follow the rules. Our tribe, our people have collectively voiced their opinions. Our elected leaders choose not to follow those expressions. And so that's not on the voters, that's on the leadership here. So we need to make sure that when we're up here and we get into that office, that we get punished when we don't listen to the Navajo voters. So that's my stance on that. A little bit of a note is, again, we are in a trust relationship with the United States government. So if the government decides that they want to get some sort of material, they can take it. Okay, we don't have rights to subsurface minerals. The water, that's why Arizona doesn't have water rights, but New Mexico does. But if there was actual leadership in the administration, they would be trucking it right now through this drought. A couple of things I wanted to add on. Dual credit. Dual credit's important when they graduate from NTU and Diné College and it transfers to UNM or any of these other state schools. That's not happening. Cyber attacks. Our government just needs to purchase top grade servers and implement them and buy insurance. It's not that hard. Overgrazing, climate change, our footprints as Navajos is really small, but in terms of overgrazing, we have the rules and regulations, so we just need to enforce it. Thank you.
Candidate Crystalline Curley, you also have the floor for 2 minutes to briefly introduce yourself and respond to the question.
Hagoshi shewe do yat ashene kodo nkhalchene hehe ngideshnil. She Crystalline Curley nashye do senje kenen nashle tko headlini bashischin kia ani dashe do zeltka kia ani dashenale what mato essentially do sloha nebiyado adet nasha from Fish Point, Arizona, not too far from here, about an hour and a half drive. Do kwaigi foreign banal. Thank you to our children. These are very important questions. So I'll just go roll into some of the stances that our government has taken decision on. So as a staffer back with the Office of the President and Vice President underneath the Nez administration, we deliberated this question over and over again. However, there was a deadline that was coming, because many of those young leaders that were in the office at the time, working with many of our grassroots, we said, this is not the time. This is not the time because we have a future for our children. Here, we are making these important decisions for you because we talked about climate change. We were talking about the scarcity of water. We're talking about drought. We're talking about abandoned uranium mines. I just came from a meeting from Cove, going over. There's still over 500 uranium mines that are still open and not cleaned. There's something wrong with that picture. When are we going to actually clean up a lot of those messes that many of these corporations have come in? A lot of these companies are non-Navajo companies that are coming in. We have to be able to protect that sovereignty that we have, and the president should be able to say no. Under this administration, we're prioritizing water, securing water rights, making sure that infrastructure is in place. The last resort should be natural or extraction or any type of drilling on our sacred land.
Thank you. We will now proceed with question 6 of round 1. Question 6. I will now invite candidate Debbie Nez Manuel and candidate Tom T. Chi to respond. On standby is candidate Larry Noble and candidate Jordan B. Gay. The next student to pose a question is Naomi Bluehouse. Naomi Bluehouse, please pose your next question.
Given the current political climate surrounding Native American citizenship, tribal sovereignty, and increased immigration enforcement, many Navajo citizens are concerned about their safety and the possibility of being questioned, detained, or misidentified, including during encounters with immigration and customs enforcement or other law enforcement agencies. If elected, what specific actions would your administration take to protect Navajo citizens from wrongful detention, discrimination, or misidentification? How would you work with the federal, state, and tribal partners to ensure Navajo Nation citizenship and tribal identification are recognized and respected, while also strengthening the safety, security, and sovereignty of the Navajo Nation for future generations?
Candidate Debbie Nez Manuel, you have the floor for 2 minutes to briefly introduce yourself and respond to the question.
Thank you. Yat she sanja kenenchle tetna ha bilni bashichin titna Jenny dashiche tabahantashnalle leyi twode ayisade nasha. Good afternoon, good evening. Thank you to all of our veterans that are in the room. We really appreciate the service that you've given to our nation and to our Gold Star spouses and Blue Star families. I'm here with my husband, my family, my support, and I'm really grateful for those things. We can't go far as presidential candidates with without that kind of support. When I think about our students, I'm going to go back to what our students really need when it comes to dual credit. Not only do we need the commitments in place, but we also need to make sure that our elementary and our secondary education is doing what they need so that students can qualify for dual credit programs. That will be what saves us the finances when we go forward. And then making sure, just like it was said earlier, is that these are transferable. When you need to evaluate and make sure everything you need works, is passed forward, that's even more important. When we look at the challenges we face with identity, many governments, we have to build strong relationships with our congressional leaders. And then we have to work with Congress and the White House, and then also down south to all the borders. It's not just down south in Danao'atam, it's also Canada. So we have to look around all over and build these relationships. These conversations have to continue happening, not just with the officials, but also with other tribes. What are they experiencing? How are they managing? When we collaborate and build those relationships, we can find the solutions that we need for our tribal members. Akiahat.
My apologies. The next person to answer the question will actually be candidate Tom T. Chi. You now have the floor for 2 minutes to briefly introduce yourself and respond to the question also.
Yat ishik edosh dene. Achehe dahus ade kon nihinanish daholon de kon neto zago. Halit anat anin daha alado ha iyan sada kisla. Da no sonshi ade nihigal da desti. Eba hensen. Adon harchene kon janago. Daitis kido bohnet zanigita. Ben sekis. Ado bedadis. Aye, that's key. Ado qua and old the benos yedo at sea the noseniki to show ego by hensen or the schne. The Tom Chi the shijin. Ado has gone the hunslot last chi bashes chin, na creden at a shido to get lini, the shinale, a hot eye the nensle. A court the night a kitten the ne. Adot elen net arnet o na khina honellen da betet no da I grasa benanishit iha aschoten denista echet aben dilne sto at si not anisen leo echet a benahoti as. You know this concept, the question, how do we begin to advocate on behalf of our children, our citizens of Navajo Nation? It's a systemic racism that we hide from. The root, the bottom undercurrent is we have a prejudice systems in place that puts limitation on our people. And we don't even bow or we don't even recognize that. We hope that blows over. Folks, it's been going on for hundreds of years. We have to be very deliberate as how do we respond to it. There should be consultation. There should be a government-to-government relationship with state and federal. Thank you.
Thank you. We will now proceed with the next question of round 1. Question 8. I will now call on candidate Jordan B. Gay to respond. The next student to be asking the question again is Ethan Tachini. Student Ethan Tachini, please pose the next question for candidate Jordan B. Gay.
Rising college costs have led many Navajo students to rely on scholarship, grants, loans, and personal employment to finance their education. How would your administration expand access to financial assistance and reduce the financial burden on Navajo students?
Candidate Jordan B. Gay, you have the floor for 2 minutes to briefly introduce yourself and respond to the question.
Great. Yat eshik edos dine.
Yat et Arnold so other yatin, other kunija, other eltin janal, au asa ano dao yat eshik edos dene. Say Dr. Jordan Bigayanishke, be petoni, twitch eating in the sun. Kia ani bashishin, ya itene touching it does say, ado tatnasani dasinale. Twine helite na sha, ado kutaya tenenis, ado yat ihni desnit Arnold so Quebec echo. So if elected as the Navajo Nation President, I would diversify the Navajo financial aid. I would look at understanding that financial aid doesn't only pay for tuition. Financial aid goes above and pays for miscellaneous fees. It pays for housing, pays for transportation. It pays to buy a new laptop to do your homework. It pays to buy textbook. I actually was recently in each and every one of your shoes. I congratulate and I commend each and every one of you students for coming forth. It does take a lot to be able to sit in front of hundreds of people and speak on behalf of yourself, your family, your community, your dreams and aspirations. So I commend each and every one of you guys. I encourage you guys to continue your education. But as far as improving financial aid, we know that, again, I would work on increasing scholarship opportunities. We know that in fiscal year 2024, ONSFA awarded $24 million to our Navajo students, but only 45% of the students who fully applied got funded. So 55% of the students did not get funded. We have to think about ways of funding those 55 students, ensuring that everyone gets their applications in on time. So again, expand graduate and doctoral funding, looking at emergency assistance grants. We need to ensure that our students have money to go home, to buy shampoo, to buy different necessities they need, improve application processing times as far as ONSFA, and develop scholarships that help students get to their careers. Thank you.
This concludes with round one. We will now take a brief pause before moving to round two. Sorry guys, we're actually just gonna keep moving on just to keep time and make sure everybody else gets out on time. So moving on to round two, welcome to round two. In this round, you will again have 2 minutes to respond to the question posed from our student panel. Just a reminder for all candidates, please speak until I addressed you. Do not speak unless I addressed you. Our first question will be posed by Tristan Lee. I will again call candidates in order by seating. The first two speakers for this round are candidate Arvin Trujillo and Johnny Russell Jr. On standby are Alexander Chambers and Justin Jones. Student Tristan Lee, please pose your first question.
Many Diné students want to leave Diné to pursue higher education and more employment opportunities. Students would often wonder if they should stay on their homeland and find meaningful careers after graduation. What is your plan to create more career jobs, workforce development programs, and economic opportunities across the Navajo Nation so that it can encourage young leaders to return home after college?
Candidate Arvin Trujillo, you have the floor for 2 minutes to respond to the question.
Thank you very much. You know, looking at job creation and the development of an economy is becoming very critical here on the Navajo Nation. We have to really begin to look at how we look at workforce development. How do we look at cluster development? Bringing new industry into areas and allowing our small businesses to begin to develop service-related service to these large industries. And the question was asked about extraction. We have to understand we are a resource development nation. We have to look at our resources, whether it be fossil fuel, forestry, grazing. These are resources. We do not have a tax base. We do not have property taxes. We do not have income taxes. That's how governments are usually run. We have to look at our resources in order to produce revenue, in order to generate. A number of these questions you ask all cost money. And our resources, our discretionary funding is going down every year. So using our resources responsibly, looking at the environment, we've been able to do that. We've been looking at reclamation. We've been looking at how we look at emissions. We've been looking at how we can be protective of our water. We've done better. We've grown those areas. The technology is improving every year. The question about helium. Helium is an inert gas. It doesn't combine with anything. It's not combustible, yet it's used for medical reasons. We used to utilize that gas in the 50s and the 60s. The price went down, so we stopped. The price is back up now. It's a resource that we can utilize. So again, jobs is important. We're losing our youth. We need to bring them back and bring them back quickly. Thank you.
Next candidate, Johnny Russell Jr., you now have the floor for 2 minutes to respond to the question.
Economic development do Nikhalchin, what that it does, Kaido, Kunas Kalita, Benanishide, or Lins, no Yahatia. And here, Nikhalchin, which in Davina, the net and it, Lenny, Saga or Junja. Any contractor, the net, let's honor those cities, Kitty. Had either or least or Hatira which the needs to yatkis to gossip bodies. A conculsion, those try, they're overqualified with it, so they're underqualified. A crochet, the coded that was told, we'll find a place for you guys. So these have been in the sleep, they've been in the window rock too long. So when you put the young guys back in there in college, that is try. A crochet added in the house condo, Ben cannot honor than leader list. Although we have to think outside the box, although our the infrastructure fund, with either economic development, don't based on how then how needs to our government which is the need in the Washington, a based on how which is the need in Nikisha don't they sit down later when they make card on it that is Lado, Itank, a district, Hona, the Washington, which is an chapter, which is a chaco. A course it out, Jehedit, a latte, dot doesn't call Chindon, Katabidi, a dot or Nita, a task. That's a thousand culture, non Polish, Tabahado Lake.
Thank you. We will now proceed with question 2 of round 2. Question 2 comes from our next student, Shania Watson. I will now call the next 2 candidates to respond. Frank Deis Jr. and Boo Nygren. The next student will be Shania Watson. Please pose the next question.
As artificial intelligence is more relevant in society, how would your administration ensure that AI is used to benefit the Navajo Nation while protecting the Navajo language, culture, traditional knowledge, and data sovereignty from misuse by outside entities?
Yes, that is a good question. The artificial intelligence. I do believe and I'm not saying number one is we must embrace this technology because it's like any software you use. If you use Facebook, you use TikTok, that is artificial intelligence. So we are going into an era of where these technologies are changing, and we must embrace it. Our government must embrace it. Our divisions must embrace it. And so it's to make things just a little easier. If you use Microsoft Word, it's incorporated and stitched with artificial intelligence. Your cell phones is all artificial intelligence. So we must embrace this new technology for us to do things a little bit faster and be able to operate this government more efficiently. Because, we're going to get left behind if we don't embrace this technology. For example, every time you call a chapter house, nobody answers the phone. Artificial intelligence can handle our basic customer service and telecommunications. It can handle, any kind of complaint a Navajo citizen might have. Data, infrastructure, anything you can think of, we can stitch it with public safety. If you want to see a model of this, look at what China's doing. They are way ahead of us, the United States of America. So we must embrace this technology and look at things just a little differently. Yeah.
Thank you. Candidate Justin Jones, you also have the floor for 2 minutes to respond to the question.
One of the first things we need to do as a nation is we have to identify what is sacred. We have to identify what part of that sacred has to be secret as well. Two things go together. Today, we are just simply opening everything that we have that we deem sacred and secret to the rest of the world. And so, if you look into your Navajo Nation law right now, Title 1 all the way to Title 26, you will find no law in there that specifically says this is sacred, this has to be secret. We cannot allow this information to be taken outside of the confines of the Navajo Nation. There's no law that's there today. So one of the first things I would do, I would sit down with the Navajo Nation Council and say, Shohei Shananta, Diba Hastki, Di Yuda, Ne, Dibik Ahohini, Na, Dibik Ahot Esotil Zindo, Dibik Aho Nikahat Halon Hinaharat Nazla, Ahdi Kwe Kompestatil Klitide, Dide Hasha, hey, Behez Ani, Labadil Nil, Adot Onraho. Today we have inquiries from England and Germany of people that say, hey, I want to be a blessing way singers. No, I didn't get it. Dibich Anihidet eats. Ago. Na Kiguna end of the day, we have to start investing in technology that will protect all of that. Johot ade don't need akodit al yat opa inil zani kwebich anihidet it sihigi ehot ade bayel tido adilni.
Thank you. We will now proceed with question 3 of round 2. Question 3 comes from our next student, Ashley Chi. I will now call the next 2 candidates to respond. Candidate Frank Thayas Jr. and candidate Boo Nygren. On standby are Donovan Begay and candidate Myron Leiser. Ashley Chi, please pose the next question.
During the COVID-19 pandemic, it became clear that the Navajo Nation faces significant food security challenges, including limited access to fresh produce, clean water, and local food production. Navajo farmers play a critical role in strengthening our communities and reducing dependence on outside food sources, yet many continue to face barriers related to infrastructure, water access, funding, and technical support. As president, what specific actions would you take to support farmers, invest in agricultural infrastructure, and to strengthen food sovereignty across the Navajo Nation?
Candidate Frank Thayas Jr., you now have the floor for 2 minutes to respond to the question.
Yat eho, aro nehe yaha dak ehbada hoiliao ni yashe. So the question that you have specifically applied to me during COVID. And our farm is 22 acres, and we have livestock on there. And so when we were stricken with COVID-19, it impacted everything that we were doing. It impacted our water source, it impacted our livelihood, and it impacted the things that we were doing on our farm. So the best thing that we could do and what we would implement is first take a good of what you have in front of you. And so in our case, we took an inventory of our livestock, how would they be impacted? Then we addressed their water source. So we had to go to a place where we were ensured that the water that we were getting was safe for our use. Now, when I say that you have to take water source break it up into three categories. One of them is home use, so that was impacted. Then the other one is livestock. You have to take a look at that, and I just talked about that. The last one is you have to take a look at industrial use. And when I say industrial, you take a look at Navajo Dam. The water source that comes from there, based on an agreement back in the 50s, flows through our Navajo agricultural product industries. So when you take a look at that, we need to ensure that we protect those resources. And so that's what we were able to do during that time. Now, also the citizens that are taking part of this ecological system, they need to be protected as well. And that was the other thing that we took safeguards to control. Thank you.
Candidate Boo Nygren, you now have the floor for 2 minutes to respond to the question.
Triat aro khe wa na ide kirigi keya nan do na tlon si do le da no selegi het o bansen kes do het o la bensen le sto drukat tha na khedos than de zinat an in lo na nishin lagi horas iso ben kilche hotesha tha da me do stad nes na tin besna patlel chedelia ashlat oba alla nartlonshi banda anigi pesna banda dos atlegi honela chedel yaron da hasnel neznatin oba se pizza lebe kid banda has ango lo chedel ya aro nezna thoba hada il traz hoto de nebe kega bakao aro natin oba strat sense tango le thobanda to no benda shilnish aro le khatin oba se bit sense tango le be thobin nada to nishigi to chedalia aro le ni bahauzi chiando de beda any jon le thanda de kishon le to de bagat on das jon le kat thana khajasta da Tide nes not tin the meal ta hetet lo hot o the nebetsa and the head need o pesos la bechun holia aro le start at slatin the meal honela chiant it's le an hidanil angi the nebe bechun holia hot o the nebe ka james of ansis case aro le the nebe keo bakao da thita chinigi nes not the meal honela and the hitla do het ola da dilni no hot o ben nesh hoto a hehen hedinil hoto raje aro nash nanado le queen zinigi yego le alla na nishte yol geri hadabli lot ten agi peso la bechon hodil nilo be las legon jono to il nigo da dil nilo no ekad naso ne nijin kinna hata hoto san kichinan aro do hehe do le
We will now proceed with question 4 of round 2. Question 4, I will now call the next two candidates to respond. Candidate Donovan Begay and candidate Myron Lizer. On standby are candidate Emily Ellison and candidate Crystalline Curley. The next student to pose a question will be Bradley Redhouse. Bradley Redhouse, please pose the next question.
Candidates, according to the National Congress of American Indians, more than 8,500 people have left the Navajo Reservation since 2010 census due to the lack of jobs and economic opportunities. My question is, how do you intend to support and connect with our off-reservation relatives?
Yate, one thing that I believe that we're doing as parents is we're preparing our students or our children for the world out there. So these scholarships that we have, I believe that we should have scholarships for every student that wants to go to college. That's what I would really push to do. There should be no reason why one college student should not be able to go to college of their choosing. Not everybody can go here and, on the reservation. There's only so many spots here, and it's okay. It's okay to go off and pursue your life in the big cities. We want our children to be out there and being successful, competing with the rest of the world. You make us very proud. You know, that's what I would do. I would do everything to help the students out, and try my very best to come up with funding to have liaisons go into these cities to check on our students, check on our young parents who have young children, help them with rent, help them with gas, help them with food, anything that they need. That's our responsibility ultimately as Navajo Nation leaders. Please, let's all work together with something like this. Kanla.
Candidate Myron Lizer, you now have the floor for 2 minutes.
Thank you for the question. I was kind of amazed. The clock up here on my side looks like Lizer colors, so pretty excited up here. Great question. I believe there was some saying that there was a discrepancy on the last figures from the 2020 census, and due to the fact that the counters couldn't get to every household and count, so discrepancy. But I believe that number is pretty close. Of all of our people that have left, pursue brighter, greener pastures, and we need to stop that erosion of our population going. Number one, economic development would help that a lot. I've said so before in other forums. You know, most people are talking about economic development. I'm actually doing it by hiring people and starting up stores. But we need to give this opportunity that we have to other people, other entrepreneurs. Bring them home. I know a lot of dreams die because they're trying to pursue starting up a store on the nation, and their dreams. And it's been said too that our people are making a lot of other tribes wealthy. Our people are working for a lot of corporations, and they're making them very successful. So we need to keep the erosion down to a very low number, and we can only do that by adding jobs. And I also want to say, my team, we've been collaborating with the land-grant universities. When you have such a ginormous, I know that's not a word, campus down in Phoenix, North Phoenix, the old Deer Valley area, TSMC, the Taiwan semiconductor plant, literally is going to be another Anthem, Arizona being created. How are we going to participate? I challenged Dr. Crow that Navajo and sovereign nations should be a part of these discussions. That, I believe, is the only thing that they're missing right now that would help spur even further development and really quicken it, and it would benefit us and our people. Yeah, well.
Thank you. We will now proceed with question 5 of round 2. Question 5. I will now call the next 2 candidates to respond. Candidate Emily Ellison and candidate Crystalline Curley. On standby are candidates Debbie Nez Manuel and candidate Tom T. Chi. The next student will be Naomi Bluehouse. Please pose the next question.
The crisis of missing and murdered Indigenous women, girls, and relatives continue to impact families. Many families called for stronger investigations, better coordination among enforcement agencies, increased support services, and greater accountability. If elected, what specific policies would your administration implement to prevent violence, strengthen investigations, improve communication between tribal, state, and federal agencies, and better support victims, survivors, and their families?
Candidate Emily Ellison, you now have the floor for 2 minutes to respond to the question.
Well, first of all, I'm going to say that not a single person in your council currently or in your presidential administration cares about missing and murdered women. I've routinely gone to these individuals asking for funding for a shelter. We've presented proposals, zero. They literally had billions of dollars and they did not care. Their priority was their travel budget. Their priority was looking good. So you, as a voter, need to figure out who you're voting for here. This is why we're here. We're determining the leadership for the next 4 years. We've already been through one. Didn't work. Let's go to the next. So we've all putting our best foot forward. These are issues that we've been dealing with our entire lives. And they need real solutions, which means they need money. And that money needs to be handled effectively and correctly, and that's not happening. What I do want to also add is COVID revealed how weak our Navajo government is. Once the border towns closed us out, we were all knocking on the door trying to get in. What did our leadership do? They ran to Santa Fe and cried racism. They didn't make any preparation or efforts in building homes, getting those infrastructures in for water and electricity. What was the number one reason why COVID spread so quickly? Because of multi-generational homes, which meant grandmas, grandkids, and parents were all living in one setting. We need to address our housing crisis. That's as far as I can go at this point. Thank you.
So right now, underneath the council, we do have a task force of missing and murdered and their relatives. And I think as a speaker, we're looking at the policies. So as a president, it will just be a transition to implement a lot of those recommendations that are coming from the task force. If there has to be a collaboration between the branches. And I think underneath my administration, first of all, is reestablishing the missing persons unit back into our public safety system. And the second one is Amber Alert. You know, we are in 2026. How come our Division of Public Safety to this point has not implemented a successful Amber Alert? And then another area is agreements. There was a question about state governments and federal agencies. We need to be pushing these agreements where they are culturally appropriate, where we are recognized as spiritual beings. You know, there's always that disagreement. So there has to be that cultural sensitivity part of our missing people. How to prevent missing and murdered Indigenous people. It comes back to us as either a mother or a parent. Violence should be no. No means no. And that tone has to change back when they're within our homes and with our communities. Domestic violence against our elderly, against our women, against our children, LGBTQ community. It needs to be a whole widespread awareness campaign to stop this violence.
Thank you. We will now proceed with question 6 of round 2. Question 6. I will now call the next 2 candidates to respond. Candidate Debbie Nez Manuel and candidate Tom T. Chi. On standby is candidate Jordan Begay. The next student to pose the question is Ethan Tachini. Ethan Tachini, please pose the next question.
College readiness efforts across the Navajo Nation have expanded in recent years. What additional investments or policy changes would your administration make to improve college readiness? increase college enrollment, and ensure more Navajo students successfully complete their degrees.
Candidate Debbie Nez Manuel, you have the floor for 2 minutes to respond to the question.
When we think about college readiness, that goes again back to the foundation of education in elementary and secondary school, even Head Start. In all of these forums, we haven't spoke about Head Start. Head Start is so important for everything that we do with a child, even from in utero, from the time we're carrying a child to the time we're teaching them, nurturing them, communicating with them, reading to them, all that brain development is important. And then, if we have all of that in place, we can definitely go and start thinking about college readiness. It's not just getting and choosing and saying, I'm going to be a doctor, a police, nurse. It's really looking at the foundation and helping a child to understand what's required of that profession, what's required of the vocational programs, what's required of the apprenticeship program, what is the cost of these programs that are happening. When we think about our finances as parents, you know, we look at the scholarship office, and I visited with Rosemary Graham, who's been there since I've been in college or when I started, and there's so many challenges that their staff face. When we look at the superintendent, I mean, even them getting quorum, they cannot achieve quorum. How can we prepare our students if our bodies, our decision-making places are not showing up? They're not being appointed. They're not doing the role that they have to do. These decision-making places actually discuss funding cycles, how to allocate money, and that starts with our leadership. We have to make those things happen. When we look at our students, we have to look at their safety, their health, their finances, their housing, whether or not they're safe. Are they dealing with emotional, stressful situations that might cause suicide? We have to look at their planning. So there's so many components to this, and I really want to commend the resource program that took place today. They did such a good job offering those services. Thank you.
Candidate Tom T. Chi, you now have the floor for 2 minutes to respond to the question.
Thank you. Whoever controls the education of a nation controls that particular nation. For too long, we have been controlled by the federal government. Policies that put criteria on a nation that speaks Navajo language, the most complex language, the most difficult language you can learn in this world. Whereas English is one of the most simplest, the most complete English language that's readily available. So we sadly refer to our elders that speak only Navajo as uneducated. One of the most erroneous labeling we have done with our society. Just because we speak, read, and even get a college degree does not mean we're educated. We are literate in that big world out there. We are learning their values. We give degrees. Over here, we turn around to our most sophisticated thinkers and refer to them as uneducated. That value has to be changed. Grandmas, grandpas, mom and dad that don't speak, never attended one formal schooling has given us the foundation to earn college degrees in our later years. So something is so intrinsic to our culture, and we're totally denying that. And if we could sell it to our kids that learn Navajo, master a language before you take on the second. Right now we have this ridiculous way of talking. Store go there, yeah, car this with newspapers on this, so I'll be right back. What kind of language is that? It's no longer Navajo, it's no longer so that kind of stuff has to be learned at an early age. So let's get back with it. Thank you.
We will now proceed with question 7 of round 2. Question 7, I will now call the next candidate to respond. Candidate Jordan Begay, the next student will pose the next question. Tristan Lee, please pose the next question.
Communities are built through strong investments such as youth programs, public spaces, and local resources. Many community members and students hope to see a change in their community where their future generations can live, work, and thrive. What community-based actions would you focus on to straighten Navajo communities and improve the quality of life on the reservation for future generations?
Thank you for the question. So it's important. So the foundation of education ni din hit dinetani tliniki eya hawante. Amato I see they're the first teachers. A way tin is chon eya dinepizad yalke. Ni the nebizad is very important. A benasco yikatole a kutao eya. We're strong people. So going back to communities, I think the thing that we got to do as the Navajo Nation is come back together with love, respect. We have to think about helping one another. Community-based programs that can support individuals is, again, at the chapter level, the PEP programs, the summer youth programs. Those bring youth and community members together. Another form of community-based programs that could be implemented, again, is ODY. Growing up, I participated many summers in the Office of Youth Development. They also have programs that connect students to jobs. And again, we all got to come together through the various many generations, whether it's the youth, to adults, to elders, to be able to connect back to our we got to preserve that. So it's important, again, the question going back to bringing community, strengthening back. The number one thing is, again, recognizing that we have to love one another. We have to figure out a way to help one another and know that we're going to the new horizon. Holding one another together, it's important. We know we have to address the social economic disparities and inequities that are in our communities. On a daily basis, our people struggle, and we have to figure out a way to help them. Thank you.
Thank you for your responses. This concludes with round one. Round two. We will now take a brief pause before moving to round three. Sorry about that. Now that all the candidates are back on stage, we now begin our third and final round, the lightning round. In this round, each candidate will be asked one question and will have a strict 1 minute time limit to respond. Question one. I will now call Arvin Trujillo to respond. The first student to ask the question will be Shania. Please pose the next question.
How to pronounce my name is Shania.
Sorry about that.
It's okay. The future of the Navajo will be shaped by emerging technologies, including artificial intelligence, cybersecurity, broadband infrastructure, and digital government services. Yet many Navajo students and young professionals are concerned that there are no long-term technology strategies to prepare for the nation for these challenges and opportunities. As a cybersecurity student, for a future where technology will impact nearly every aspect of tribal government and economic development. Do you support creating a cabinet-level chief technology officer or Department of Technology for the Navajo Nation?
You have 1 minute to respond to the question, candidate Arvin Trujillo.
Thank you for that question. That's a good question. Simple answer is yes, because we've got to learn how to utilize our technology. And a part of that utilization is coming in with that kind of an office to begin to teach our Navajo employees how to best utilize technology. We've got to be able to do that. The world continues to move forward. AI, looking at the internet, looking at forms and form development, using those electronic types of data gathering, databases, etc. Gain access to those things, how do we begin to analyze data more effectively and efficiently? And how do we then protect that data? And so again, having this type of office will help move this type of effort forward and begin to allow the Navajo Nation to better utilize the internet, utilize the computer, and utilize the accumulation of data so that we can analyze and make decisions effectively. Thank you.
Thank you, candidate Arvin Trujillo. We will now proceed with question 2 of round 3. Question 2. I will now call on candidate Johnny Russell Jr. to respond. The next student to pose the question will be Ashley Chi. Please pose the next question.
Many Navajo citizens are concerned about repeat offenders, and while our current justice system provides adequate accountability for serious crimes such as white-collar crime, bootlegging, and drug dealing, as president, what specific policies and laws would you change to ensure those who commit serious crimes are held accountable?
Can you repeat the question again one more time?
Yeah.
Repeat to the mic. I can't
Oh. As president, what specific policies and laws would you change to ensure that those who commit serious crimes are held accountable?
Well, thank you for that question. I didn't quite understand it, but I'll do the best I can to answer it. About this, you're talking about how will we do this and do that, but is this? I can't really understand what you were saying. I want to, if you can repeat one more time, man, please.
Many Navajo citizens are concerned about repeat offenders and whether the current justice system provides adequate accountability for serious crimes such as white-collar crime, bootlegging, and drug dealing. As president, what specific policies and laws would you change to ensure that those who commit serious crimes are held accountable?
Okay, thank you for the question. Area I need that either lay a wall that better had a cheat or aqua the cable cut and Nahaka Akko don't kick a had that A could Nahaka a change the either the Chido Sani that 3 days on the Jala the Bandahani. Only I see our label and washing jump the hotel Pagando did our education John Abalako. Oh, that's allowed, the never allowed, but for the house and do chapter officials, but the house on that on it could Honda Bugando, Bujalondo, Banahane, Edo, to Edo, she could but she did the Bagalot, Auto the Bagalot, Arthur Code, a code all that in a dog, Michal Chidon, 2 days, even now, additional co I think culture, but Hatan agent, here.
Thank you, candidate Johnny Russell Jr. We will now proceed with question 3 of round 3. Question 3. I will now call on candidate Alexander Chambers to respond. The next student to pose the question will be Bradley Redhouse. Please pose the next question for us.
Candidate, in the span of just 10 years, the percentage of Navajo language speakers dropped 25%. What is your plan to promote the learning of Diné language and cultures in our K through 12 schools?
Yes, that is a very important question. Dida Nebazadia. What our be ye till? Tino. Be nit our in kayate. Naso hol ayol culture ibn ya. Okay, di koda naso tanegi. So learn your language. You know, my son should say, hey, this is why I talk like this, because they raised me with it. And you got to submerge yourself, and that's the only way, constantly. What be yajist do be sozdel zeno, do be najintino, do be nahat leto. It's a very powerful thing you can have. Nothing or nobody can take that from you. Okay, and the other thing too, we should have zero tolerance for criminal activity on the Navajo Nation, period. That should be the message as president of the Navajo Nation to every criminal out there.
Zero tolerance.
Thank you, candidate. We will now proceed with question 4 of round 3. Question 4. I will now call on candidate Justin Jones to respond. The next student to pose a question will be Naomi Bluehouse. Please pose the next question.
There are ongoing concerns among Navajo citizens about transparency and accountability in how tribal funds are managed, including whether spending decisions and administrative actions consistently result in clear benefits to the communities they are intended to serve. What specific measurements would your administration implement to strengthen oversight, prevent misuse of funds, and ensure that all tribal resources are used ethically, transparently, and for the direct benefit of the Navajo citizens?
First and foremost, we have to change our mode of thought. Today in Windarot, the mode of thought isn't for the best interest of the Navajo Nation. That is not the mode of thought. Case in point, the council is going through the budget right now. If you go through the budget right now, what part of that budget are for council delegates? There's a lot of them right now. So it has to be in the best interest of the Navajo people. Number 2, adherence, complete adherence to the law that is in place. We have several laws that are in place. Many times, the council waives those laws, like the Appropriations Act, the BIM, bit different parts of it. And we can argue about that all day, but that is what happened in the Oversight Committee, Finance Committee. We have other committees that are waiving that. Then it goes across the street, the same way, adherence to the law.
Thank you, candidate Justin Jones. We will now proceed with question 5 of round 3. I will now call on candidate Frank Dayesh Jr. to respond. The next student to pose a question is Ethan Tachini. Please pose your next question.
In recent years, federal policy changes in diversity, equity, and inclusion, or DEI initiatives, and other shifts in higher education policy have created uncertainty for many Native students and tribal serving programs. If future federal actions reduce support for Indigenous students, how would your administration advocate for and protect the educational opportunities available to Navajo students?
The President of the United States today has gone to his Department of Justice. They issued an opinion, and that opinion addresses exactly what you just stated. What they did is they came and they said, what we want to do is wipe out Indian education altogether. It's racist. That's what they told them. So they wanted to go ahead and clear the table so that we don't get any educational benefits. The other thing that they talked about was in that opinion, they said we also want to address their culture. We want to address their religion. We want to wipe that clean. So the justice has already been implementing that process all along. So what we've done on our part through the Council of Peyote Way of Life Coalition is we've been lobbying for that. We lobbied the president, we lobbied the councilmen, and we asked them to put a resolution in place for them to address fighting this initiative. Thank you.
Thank you, candidate Frank. We will now proceed with question 6 of round 3. I will now call on candidate Boo Nygren. Tristan Lee, please pose your next question.
According to the Navajo Nation Department of Diné Education, many educators focus on preserving the Diné language, which is essential in maintaining cultural identity and passing traditional knowledge to future generations. But at the same time, the younger generation faces a lot of pressure when it comes to balancing cultural preservation. According to the Navajo Nation Department of Diné Education, many educators focus on preserving the Diné language,
which is essential in maintaining cultural identity and passing traditional knowledge to future generations. But at the same time, the younger generation faces a lot of pressure when it comes to balancing cultural preservation while also using modern education. The Navajo language is the foundation of Diné, but many young people are growing up without the Navajo language, and that reduces their chance of becoming fluent speakers. What kind of Pacific policies or programs would you support to strengthen our Diné language and heritage education for future generations, while also preparing them for success in their college or desired careers?
Thank you. Candidate Boo Nygren, you have the floor for 1 minute to respond to the question.
Triat when I decade and the Hanot and yin Hezar, Yenahudos, Asto, het Ola, Yenet, literally, and again, the Ahui. Even at the more not outlet, they not deemed the agenda, the neck at a sad, but we can not date this. I don't know this Zekoda, not says, not so store, nothing tin, but I'll count the Nebazad, the double card, a hot open days, the shadow day, the never care of a car, the not sauce will try at the neck at will try it, cushy the meal, the sea, other 10 years, the not go, they need car, do it or street or sunny, they yadat, the eye is a bit not ha, Asana Kita, Ashla, later be what jiggy hot open the not ha, or better not long, at a Lenat, Annie, another shot like 11 not on this and energy. I is a pace of a bandit, in Jonadole, I is in Jonon Hizar, then Dahudil, we jimping a day, Kidobe, and it on so Francisco.
Thank you, candidate Boo Nygren. We will now proceed with question 7 of round 3. Question 7. I will now call on candidate that's wrong. I will now call on candidate Donovan Begay to respond. The next student to pose a question will be Shania Watson. Please pose the next question.
Tribal data sovereignty recognizes the rights of indigenous nations to govern the collection, ownership, and use of their data. As more government services move online, questions about data storage, cybersecurity, privacy, and access to external vendors become increasingly important. What policies would your administration implement to ensure the Navajo Nation data remains secure, sovereign, and under the control of the Navajo Nation rather than outside governments, corporations, or third-party organizations?
Thank you for the question there. Information or question, is very complicated. There's so much information that's just going out, unknowingly. And to secure that, it would be a very hard thing to do. I believe that everybody's just so knowledgeable out there on how to use these devices and also these technologies that are out there. So like one of the candidates did say, that we have to embrace this AI that's coming in. These data centers that are just coming in, they're just overwhelming us. Because it's a lot easier. It's a lot easier for everybody to just get on GPT chat and you get your whole your paper written there, and it's just I think it's just kind of taken away from our memories and our attempts to educate our children. It's too easy right now, so it's going to be up to the individual students.
Thank you, candidate. We will now proceed with question 8 of round 3. Question 8, I will now call on candidate Myron Lizer to respond. The next student to pose a question will be Ashley T. Please pose the next question.
As drought conditions worsen and climate change increases the risk of wildfire across the Navajo Nation, proactive fire prevention measures such as controlled burns and vegetation management are becoming increasingly important. At the same time, many communities experience long response time due to limited firefighting resources and the distance between fire stations. As president, what specific actions would you take to strengthen the wildfire prevention efforts, expand fire department capacity, improve emergency response times, and better protect Navajo communities, livestock, and natural resources from the growing threat of wildfires?
Oh, yeah. Ashley, you ask great questions. First, I would seek out TIBIC, Tribal Interior Budget Council, and start advocating for an escalated budget increase so that we could fight these fires, number one. Number two, seeking more grant funding on the federal level, but also working with those agencies that can help us just lower the fire threat. If you've ever been down to Phoenix, you see how their forest is almost manicured. We need to do the same on the Navajo Nation. We like to cut and create a cleaner forest, taking all of the dead oak, the dead limbs, and even the dead fir needles, and totally getting rid of them. They could probably make wood. You could be creative in this, and plus you got to bring in the P3, the public-private partnership that will help alleviate this fire threat in the future. Yeah. Oh.
Thank you, candidate Myron Lizer. We will now proceed with question of round 3. I will now call on candidate Emily Ellison to respond. The next student to pose a question is Bradley Redhouse. Please pose the next question.
Candidate, in 2025, the Navajo Nation Council approved the fiscal year 2026 housing plan for the Native American Housing and Self-Determination Act. This was followed by a lawsuit in 2026 from a New Mexican architecture firm against Zenny Homes over claims the company misused nearly $22 million in federal funds intended for Navajo Nation housing and failed to deliver any of the 160 modular homes it was contracted to build. How do you intend to develop future plans to improve the sustainability of housing infrastructure as well as accountability of project completion on the Navajo Nation?
Well, I'll tell you what, somebody's millionaire in here, maybe 2 or 3 millionaires. There's a lot of kickbacks that are happening. And this is not the first time, it's always happened. I would have followed the procurement code. We have our procurement code. Why was it not followed? This company was vetted. They said, da. But what did we do? We're JCUS, right? We don't listen. We just do whatever we want. So, what we need to do is update our laws, most importantly, our criminal code, our white-collar crime, turn the Attorney General's office into an elected office so we're not dealing with that chaos. But I do want to return to a couple of things here. The Navajo Nation, Navajo is the official language of the Navajo. It's been passed, fund it. Give it millions of dollars. Open a market.
Thank you, candidate Emily Ellison. We will now proceed with question 10 of round 3. Question 10. I will now call on Curley to respond. The next student to pose a question is Naomi Bluehouse. Please pose the next question.
As artificial intelligence continues to expand, companies are seeking locations for large-scale data centers that require significant amount of electricity, land, and water. While these projects may offer economic opportunities, they also raise concern about environmental impacts, water consumption, cultural preservation, and tribal sovereignty. What safeguards would you require before approving these projects? Ensure that economic development does not come at the expense of our land, sacred sites, or our future.
My stance as of today, I am against. So, because in the state of Arizona, we've been fighting for our water rights since 1985. It's been over 40 years we have been fighting for our water. We have all of these non-Navajo companies coming in. It doesn't matter if it's data centers or if it's another energy project that use significant amount of water. That's the first question we should be asking. What's that threat to that water? Because we have experienced Peabody. They left, millions of contamination to our water, to our land. Now we're in drought, and it's cross uranium. It's the same thing. We don't want to repeat that history again. So first, we should be able to secure and protect our water for you.
Thank you, candidate Crystalline Curley. We will now proceed with question 11 of round 3. Question 11. I will now call on candidate Debbie to respond. The next student to pose a question is Ethan Tachini. Please pose your next question.
Before stating this next question, I want to put an emphasis on the first generation Navajo student aspect of it. Many Navajo students are first generation college students who leave the reservation to pursue higher education. What specific initiatives would your administration implement to better support these Navajo students attending colleges and universities away from the Navajo Nation?
Thank you for that question. Thank you, students. All of you are asking very good questions. When we're first-time generation, what I feel like I went through, one of the things that really helped me was mentoring programs. You connect with the Native American program and they find somebody who's already gone through college. And you find that the challenges that you're experiencing currently are often the same as those who are mentoring you. And then as you go forward, you have to really think again about the social emotional development of that person. What were their experiences like at home? Do they have support systems? Do they live with grandma and grandpa? Do they understand what shift is that's going to get ready to happen? You can go to college here on tribal campuses, but you're still experiencing the same thing because you have so much strict structure from timing, time schedules, due dates, and so much more. So having those support systems in place for students are really critical. Thank you.
Thank you, candidate Debbie Nez Manuel. We will now proceed with question 13 of round 3. No, we will proceed with question 12 of round 3. Sorry about that. Question 12, I will now call on candidate Tom T. Chi to respond. The next question to pose by a student is Tristan Lee. Tristan Lee, please pose your next question.
Communities from every region of the Navajo Nation have different priorities and certain challenges, ranging from housing, education, and healthcare. Many residents want their voices to make a difference within their community and feel heard. How would your administration make sure that local communities have a stronger voice in decision-making in their own communities? And what steps would you take to make sure that residents' needs are being met?
Thank you for that. Ado bahat adin hidden any clinic edit neniki bikehonit don't nanny clinic ebehons and do ed negonana ebe eda hosen e all ye a cot a catchin neniki elchin hatsado yidahos ado show nizen who one has ateto to who wanted on a ragoto agent gerada. Alepo Yako Hakat Eshi Dadi Ben Dantin that a ma aje che nanani linigi nani tkindo eto nish Johota. You know, my last comment is laws do not change a human behavior, but values does. Eshi hot edole. Thank you.
Thank you, candidate Tom T. Chi. We will now proceed with question 13 of round 3. Question 13. I will now call on candidate Jordan Begay to respond. The next student to pose a question will be Shania Watson. Please pose the next question.
Navajo students are pursuing degrees in cybersecurity, computer science, artificial intelligence, and information technologies at institutions such as Navajo Technical University. However, many graduates leave the Navajo Nation due to limited opportunities in their field. As a cybersecurity student preparing to enter the workforce, what commitments would you make to ensure the Navajo students graduating in technology-related fields have meaningful careers opportunities within the Navajo Nation rather than being forced to seek employment elsewhere?
Great, thank you for the question. So in my administration, I would utilize the Division of Human Resources and their most recent job analysis assessment and ensure that we're meeting the needs of the current technology. We know that the Navajo Nation currently is going through an enterprise revamp where they're now deploying 4 different systems to address procurement, to address human resources, to address budget and finances. So in that instance, to ensure that we have the correct information technology specialists, again, that have gone to school at Navajo Technical University who has the information technology program at the bachelor level. They also have a master's degree in information technology. Shout out to NTU. I know Diné College also has an information technology program. So it's important, again, to ensure that our students are able to get educated here at home, so they'll stay here at home. So that's what my administration would do, is support those pathways. Thank you.
Thank you, candidate Jordan Begay. That concludes our lightning round. We have now reached the final portion of our forum, closing remarks. Each candidate will have 1 minute to speak directly to the voters. As a reminder of the ground rules, closing statements should focus on you and your priorities. Attacks on other candidates are not permitted. If a rule is violated, the microphone will be shut off and we will proceed to the next candidate. We will begin closing remarks with our first candidate, Arvin Trujillo, for 1 minute. You may begin.
Thank you for this opportunity. I believe our nation has incredible potential. My role is not to determine your future. It is to help create conditions where you build it yourself. I'm looking at the key management strategies to restore trust and accountability in our government and bring jobs back to the nation. This forum does show how much talent, creativity, and determination that young adults. My 40-year career experience has taught me that talent is not about holding a title. Leadership and management is about preparing others to succeed. I've accomplished these objectives in the past, and I can meet these challenges in the future as your president. So again, I look to you as young people to begin to strive for that impossible dream. But I'm here to help you reach those dreams and provide that opportunity. Arvin Trujillo, position number 3. Thank you.
Thank you, candidate Arvin Trujillo. Next candidate, Johnny Russell Jr. You have 1 minute. You may begin.
Yeah, thanks, kiddo, to the now. LA for welcoming me to LA. Yeah. Say it's now, this is the other Eastern Agency. A Bayastia. Are they Chaco Canyon? Kiss on Kina, are the Kaya Yati, Yatina, called Ayinda. A co which on a shadow, or don't need them in Yasta. A necklace in a shop. At Ila, all Kita, Kayeda, Tinodit, in the Donny, no watch it, the last lady car, say who are the Bagani do it, but Kinova, he by a buses. Benda hit Lahido, Edo buses. A con Kaya dot and Nabakaya, Edo buses. A call San Juan River, Goyandle, a base young lawyer, he or Donny, but that is Nana called Torpin at Benaka, the Nebakaya, Bakaha Loda, Johnny Russell, number 14.
Thank you, candidate Johnny Russell Jr. Next candidate, Alexander Chambers. You have 1 minute.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are at a critical juncture in our government. We must make this pivotal change in a new direction. Kojigo nahat anide bichidandidi kaya. Highly, that is the most important transition from here to here. Ek ebeda kehgi tao e bichidandidi kaya. Yat ehgi nahat ab. The nebebe has ani bichidandidi kaya. Nahata bekek chino bekek ahundi kaya. Ebe hojon benahdodle. Edadadi nilchik eno lini. I stand here before you as a new candidate. I understand there may be some trust issues. And I understand that there may be some past traumas, but know this, that we will take this nation in a new direction for a new time. Yeah.
Thank you, candidate Alexander Chambers. Next candidate, Frank. Is that right? No. Next candidate, Justin Jones. You have 1 minute. You may begin.
In 1966, a conversation began in Rough Rock, Arizona, and around many farms, Arizona. Dr. Ellen D. Yazzie, Dr. Net Hatkati, Dr. Robert Russell, to build an institution for our. They were thinking 30, 40, 50 years down the road over here. In the essence and in the name of sovereignty, they built this institution. And furthermore, to make it go, the breath and the air of the curriculum and the philosophy, Dr. Dean C. Jackson came on as president. That is what we have here today. Ntsahakes nahat ina sihisin. Otla ayoho netsa narebik ahojon. This is our key. This is what this administration will be premised upon, to invest in the Navajo people.
Natahol jishne ya has twi sani which that is roneri ya ko has ani bahaot zira ne hot benahat abza tahodno are hojis jo ik ya evakan etatet aron nediyat nahat an khan destel ebeni na ya na nishi ho enige aron abzilo ya lagi Nation, the whole on it all, Liso, a Yaha became a by a day, a Yaha Eben in a Codon Hidden on the stage, Nahegi, Yaha Krego, a Yaha I die when it be the wheat, though a Yahanan is better with after all this. I saw the Yaha house in Hagi, which ends the Tika, Nash, be Hashin Zayat, Yaha Ben Edlana needs and the co, Eben in July 21st, Frank Dace Jr. that don't know Natadiyo Netlake.
Thank you, Frank Daesh Jr. Our next candidate is Boo Nygren. You now have 1 minute to respond.
Yat do kehdo le khaishe na hadir la yesabash khojo thana kheromas khan dezet chehedal ene da ilga be hot zagi ne khe de net so that of zin ye go hada inosne wotlet be that no yes hawan ada tsenes nare nada ne sa de mi do ba hone la ni nil kheya de khada hado zoha dir nes na tin de be lanat le na sa na khat Karena kidmi lobana kidnes natin hone labe lana ileho the never care of a count jono na kidmil best chi the neba da haste hodis chi da he da noye arof to asad mi loba hone la chota haslos yani hone do tuz special chi da but neni quigo shit sense tago the never care of a card is nikina nispeso ya nahin tegi the quishi the milsa ya nanite aro ebe nasune ne was a bay this car but la ho that the no bunai when that no na da di ne
Yate, everybody here, the panelists, old school. I'm running because I think, like the rest of us, we saw some issues with the implementation of some of the housing issues. So what we were proposing is to do a better job. We're hoping all to do the same thing. So I commend all the other candidates being here also. If I was going to put a board of directors together, you're looking at them right now. They put their money where their mouth is. So there's a lot of intelligence here, and I believe that your vote, really think about who you're going to be voting for. And my name is Donovan Begay. I'm position 11, and I appreciate your vote and your support. Inshallah.
Thank you, candidate Donovan Begay. Next candidate, Myron Lizer. You have 1 minute. You may begin.
Oh, yes, thank you. Yeah, everybody say SNAP. Nobody said SNAP, Supplemental Nutritional Assistance Program. I haven't heard anything. None of my colleagues over here have said anything. Yet I have a plan. There will be a work requirement come January 1 for SNAP, those that are going to be depending on federal financial assistance. We need jobs, so I know a way to get jobs. The next president and the 26th Navajo Nation Council will have to dig out of a very large hole. ARPA is gone. It is sunsetted. We no longer have that $2.1 billion. Tech students, you here, you need data centers. What better way to protect data from the data centers and keep it sovereign than to put a data center on tribal lands? That's what I would advocate for. There's trillions of dollars out there for data centers, and the newest technology, you don't need the amount of water that everybody is drumming up to be, so data centers on Navajo.
Thank you, candidate Myron Lizer. Next candidate, Emily Ellison. You have 1 minute. You may begin.
Navajo is a very young nation. We're very young. And our future is bright, as you can see with our children here. What keeps us from success is corruption, is nepotism, it's using, it's cronyism, as you can hear. We're surrounded by it. And we're not going to succeed until we get that bull by the horns. And we can do that first by kicking out that attorney general, by getting our courts to do their job, to putting some of these criminals in jail, every single one of them. And guess what? Every time they move a line item where it's not supposed to be, they go to jail one night. And once they move it back, they can get their freedom back. That's the only way we're going to move forward, addressing the corruption. Thank you.
Thank you, candidate Emily Ellison. Next candidate, Crystalline Curley. You have 1 minute. You may begin.
Do yat nana kodo taheki e kodon khalchene hehet gidideshni. Thank you for hosting this forum because this future belongs to you. Our time has come already, but the future belongs to our youth here. Because you will be taking on this lead, and this is your election. The youth that are listening out there, this is your election. Because you're going to be planning for the next 100 years. For our families, and don't let anybody tell you that you don't belong here. Because we hear that right now, either if you're a woman or you're a young person. Because this is your government. I'm position number 16. Again, my name is Crystalline Curley. I love my people here.
Thank you, candidate Crystalline Curley. Next candidate, Debbie Nez Manuel. You have 1 minute. You may begin.
As candidates, we were sent an email, a letter, expectations for behavior, conduct, and communication. And I am very, very disappointed that our government employees forgot who they serve. They do not serve one person. The government employees who are all paid in this room right now are campaigning on our government public funds. That is absolutely wrong. When we talked and we started this conversation, we talked about placing people before ourselves. Some of these candidates in here do not understand that. They are not a leader defined by what this institution started us with this evening. Students need leaders to follow laws, policies, and procedures. They need honesty, integrity, and character. Thank you.
Thank you, candidate Debbie Nez Manuel. Next candidate, Tom T. Chi. You have 1 minute. You may begin.
Folks, if I could mention this, no one is coming to save us as Navajo Nation. We gotta put our boots on, tuck down on our cowboy hats, and really get to work. And be as straight and narrow focused to what needs to be done. Peterson's Law years ago said this in front of me. The net he said, give a mutton smell to everything you bring to Navajo Nation. Education, economic development, so far. It's going to take the sprinkling of our culture, of our values, of our language, our sustainability as a land. We are the 25th largest land-based nation in this world out of 95 countries. So let's go.
Joyat Eshik A Nana. Number 9, July 21st, I humbly ask for your vote, each and every one of you guys, our participants who are on the lives, to everyone. Again, on July 21st, I ask for your vote, ballot position number 9, Dr. Jordan Bigay. It's great that you're all here. I commend each and every one of you guys for being part of your government. We definitely need to continue to ensure that we're voting, that our voter participation stays high. And again, I just am really glad that we have this much participation, that we really take back our government, that we participate in every way possible, because then that way we're ensuring that we're meeting the needs of our people, that we're moving the nation forward, that we're working together as a team. It's again important. Thank you to our college students. It's great to be back here at Diné College, and I'm an alumni at Diné College. I got my certificate in public health and 2 associate's degrees from Diné College, so go Diné College.
Thank you, candidate Jordan Bigay. Thank you to all the candidates for your closing statements. Diné College student Araya James will close out the forum with a benediction for us.
Araya James Inishia. Adona Anishanigi Ekia Ani Nishle, Twa Haglini Bushes Chin, Nakadane Dashiche, Aro Tkorik E Dashanale, Aronele Tkoris Aro Aqua, Diné College de Inishtra, Associates of Arts Business Administration, Biniyeh Inishtra, Gad to the Zindo.
This now concludes the formal program of the Diné College 2026 Navajo Nation Presidential Student Forum. We extend our deepest gratitude to each candidate for their participation and for sharing their priorities for the Navajo Nation. A special thank you to the students, staff, and volunteers for the Diné College for organizing this important. We also extend our appreciation to our student panelists for their thoughtful questions and to our media partners at KXWR, LP 92.1 FM, and the Diné College team for broadcasting this forum. Most importantly, thank you to the citizens of the Navajo Nation for tuning in and engaging in this process. Safe travels back home, no speeding, and I am your MC. Good night, everyone.